Turn on the news right now. They are telling you to fear the conflict in the Middle East. They are showing you missiles, maps, and politicians in expensive suits looking deeply concerned. But they are lying to you about the real target. They are using the Iran war to steal your money. Every time a missile flies on television, a new, invisible fee is extracted directly from your bank account. It is the ultimate corporate scam. We call it the war tax. Right now, the system is using this geopolitical chaos and the artificial spike in oil prices to execute the quietest wealth transfer of the decade. They need oil at record highs to make sure your commute to work is so expensive that you're too terrified to ever quit your job. Today, I am going to expose the exact mathematical formula they use to rob you blind. If you click away from this video, you will just keep paying the war tax blindly for the rest of your life. Wake up. Listen closely. Let us start with a question. The media is absolutely terrified to ask, why now? Look at the state of your country before the military alert started flashing on your screen. You were already bleeding. Groceries were already up 30%. Rent was already suffocating the middle class. The central banks printed trillions of dollars out of thin air over the last few years to keep their broken financial system on life support. When you print that much money, inflation is not an accident. It is a mathematical certainty. But politicians and central bankers cannot go on television and admit that they deliberately destroyed your purchasing power to bail out Wall Street. If they told you the truth, that your money is becoming worthless because of their greed, there would be riots in the streets. They desperately needed a scapegoat. They needed a villain. Enter the geopolitical theater. Whenever the domestic economy is on the brink of a massive, undeniable recession, a foreign crisis miraculously dominates the headlines. This is the great distraction. Think about what happens when you stand at the gas pump today. You watch those digital numbers spin faster and faster. Every extra dollar you pump into that tank is a dollar stolen from your family's future. It is an hour of your actual human life, of your physical labor, completely vaporized. And while you stand there stressing about how you will afford to feed your family this week, the talking heads on the news are debating foreign policy and international borders. It is a perfectly orchestrated illusion. They want you looking at the sky for missiles in the Middle East, so you do not look down at the hands quietly picking your pocket. They are using the Iran war to steal your money, using fear to cover up the fact that they are destroying your purchasing power. Now, when you look at the price of gas hitting record highs, the government points a finger across the ocean. They tell you it is the cost of defending freedom. They tell you it is the fault of a foreign regime. They tell you to be a good patriot, tighten your belt, and accept the financial pain. It is a masterful psychological trick. They shifted the blame for their own domestic financial crimes onto a conflict thousands of miles away. You are not paying a war tax to fight an enemy abroad. You are paying an inflation tax to cover up the economic collapse at home, and the tool they are using to extract that tax from your wallet is the exact commodity you cannot survive without. Oil. Let us talk about the invisible leash. Most people look at the price of oil and think it only affects their morning commute. You look at the gas station sign, you sigh, you get angry, you pay, and you drive away. But oil is not just gasoline. Oil is the blood of the global economy. Every piece of food on your table, every item of clothing on your back, every single product you buy was manufactured and transported using oil. When the price of a barrel spikes because of a distant war, a massive, silent tax is instantly applied to your entire physical existence. Think about that small raise you fought so hard for last year. You negotiated, you gave the company more hours. You finally got an extra $300 or $400 a month. You actually thought you were making progress. And then, a headline breaks. Missiles fly. Oil jumps. Suddenly, filling your tank costs $40 more. Your weekly grocery bill jumps by $100. Your utility bills skyrocket. This is the brutal reality of the war tax. It is not a tax you vote on. It is an invisible penalty applied to your survival. In less than 30 days, this war tax completely vaporizes the raise you worked a whole year to earn. You are literally paying the system for the privilege of going to work. You are back to exactly where you started, broke, stressed, and running on the exact same treadmill. This brings us to the most sinister part of the machine, the corporate benefit of your financial panic. Do you really think Wall Street and massive corporations are terrified of high gas prices? They are not. In fact, they love what high prices do to your psychology. Consider the mindset of an employee who is drowning in living expenses. If it costs you $100 just to fill your gas tank to drive to an office you hate, you are no longer a free citizen. You are a hostage to your commute. When the cost of basic survival skyrockets, you lose your ultimate leverage, the power to walk away. You cannot tell your toxic boss to back off. You cannot afford to risk starting your own business. You cannot take a month off to figure out what you actually want to do with your life. You desperately need that next paycheck just to cover the artificially inflated cost of keeping yourself alive. The corporate system relies on your desperation. A comfortable, financially secure working class is incredibly dangerous to the elite. They demand better treatment. They demand higher wages. They demand respect. But a working class terrified of how they will pay for gas next week. They will swallow their pride. They will work the unpaid overtime. They will accept the disrespect. The war in the Middle East is the perfect excuse to tighten the collar around your neck. The spike in oil is not just an economic phenomenon. It is a behavioral management tool. It is an invisible leash, perfectly designed to make sure you show up on Monday morning, head down, completely obedient, and terrified of losing a job that barely pays you enough to survive. Let us follow the money, because in this system, chaos is never an accident. Chaos is a highly profitable business model. Whenever a geopolitical crisis hits, the media loves to use the phrase, "We are all in this together." They want you to believe that high oil prices and exploding inflation are a national burden, a shared sacrifice for the greater good. This is a spectacular lie. You are sacrificing. They are cashing in while you are standing at the gas pump, staring at the digital screen in absolute horror, trying to calculate which bills you will have to skip this month just to afford the drive to work. The executives of the world's largest energy conglomerates are popping champagne. Look at the quarterly earnings reports. It is all public information. Every time there is a threat of war in the Middle East, every time a supply chain is mysteriously disrupted, energy companies report record-breaking, historic profits. Billions of dollars in pure, unadulterated gain. They are not suffering from the crisis. They are actively harvesting it. And it is not just the oil executives. Look at the defense contractors. The companies that manufacture the missiles, the drones, and the military hardware. The exact moment a conflict escalates on the news, their stock prices explode. Wall Street algorithms instantly begin betting on the bloodshed, turning global instability into massive shareholder dividends. But here is the darkest part of the entire equation, a question you are never supposed to ask. Where do those billions of dollars in profit actually come from? They do not come out of thin air. They come out of your physical body. They come out of your time. Wealth is never actually destroyed in an economic crisis. It is merely transferred. It moves from the bottom to the top. When you are forced to work an extra 10 hours of overtime just to cover the artificially inflated cost of groceries and gasoline, you are acting as a biological battery for the elite. You are donating your vital energy, your youth, your physical health, and your peace of mind. to ensure that a hedge fund manager in a custom suit can buy his third vacation home. You are trading your irreplaceable time on Earth to subsidize their luxury. Your financial anxiety is not a tragedy to them, it is their primary source of revenue. They have engineered an economic matrix where the working class absorbs 100% of the pain, while the ruling class absorbs 100% of the profit. They do not care who wins the war. They do not actually care about democracy or foreign borders. They only care that the conflict lasts just long enough to justify raising the prices on everything you desperately need to survive. War is the ultimate corporate stimulus package. And it is paid for directly by the wage slaves who are too distracted by the terrifying news broadcasts to realize they are being robbed blind. So, how do you beat a machine that controls the global money supply and the price of the energy you need to survive? You cannot vote the machine away. You cannot protest the price of oil back down to reality. And you certainly cannot stop a war raging thousands of miles across the globe. But you can do something infinitely more dangerous to the system. You can become unharvestable. The elite built this trap assuming you will react exactly like everyone else. When prices spike, the average person panics. They complain to their coworkers. They get angry at the television. But most importantly, they refuse to change their lifestyle. To bridge the gap between their static income and the new, explosive cost of living, they pull out their credit cards. They go into debt just to maintain the illusion of the middle-class dream. That is exactly what the system wants. They want you to finance your own survival. They want you to borrow money from their banks, to buy their expensive oil, just to drive to their corporate offices. To win, you must commit an act of extreme psychological rebellion. You must become a financial ghost. When the cost of participating in their consumer matrix skyrockets, you do not borrow money to stay inside it. You voluntarily step out. You look at the financed luxury vehicle sitting in your driveway and you realize it is not a trophy. It is a liability. It is a leash connecting your neck directly to the geopolitical chaos of the Middle East. So you get rid of it. You buy a cheap, reliable, paid-off car. You move closer to your work. You drastically alter your commute. You stop buying the imported, useless garbage that requires oceans of expensive oil to ship to your door. You brutally, mercilessly cut your cost of living. You shrink your financial footprint until the target on your back is too small for them to hit. This is not about living in poverty. This is about tactical retreat. It is about understanding that in a rigged economy, the less you need, the more power you hold. When your living expenses are so low that a massive spike in inflation barely affects your week, you strip the corporate system of its absolute leverage over you. You are no longer terrified of your boss because your survival does not cost a fortune anymore. You stop being a highly profitable biological battery for Wall Street. Let the rest of society drown in consumer debt, trying to maintain the illusion of success. Let them argue about politicians who do not care if they live or die. Your only mission is to starve the beast. Buy your freedom by needing less of what they are selling. The system relies entirely on your endless appetite. Starve it, and you set yourself free.